The transfer portal opens in 6 days, but that doesn't mean Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes aren't already working.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a single second of the transfer portal coverage that we're about to dive into, the bowl game coverage, which we're going to continue to dive into once we figure out where Colorado's going, and more. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Let's talk about it. Transfer portal is opening in 6 days, right? Opens on the 9th. Even though it opens on the 9th for everyone, there's grad transfers. And there's also this little thing called back channeling, which means even though a player can't technically, quote unquote, technically, I think I did 3 fingers, or technically enter their name into the portal yet if they're not a graduate transfer, they are able to declare like, hey, I may be a freshman or a sophomore, but I'm going to transfer when I can. And so, believe it or not, that means coaches, teams around the country are starting to be in contact with. So we're seeing a lot of reports where it's like, this program is expected to reach out to, or this program is viewed as a contender for. Like, long story short, guys are entering the portal. Whether or not they're technically in the portal is just a formality. Everyone's putting in work everyone's putting in work in the portal. Let's just put it that way. So let's start with 3 of the biggest portal targets that I've seen Colorado linked up with for early on in this portal process, starting with North Carolina State wide receiver Kevin Concepcion. He's someone who was a freshman All-American. He's someone who I think was plagued by, he expected there to be better quarterback play, right? He's expected Grayson McCall to be his quarterback, and Grayson McCall ended up getting injured and suffering a season-ending injury, and it just his numbers all took a hit. But as a freshman last year, he had 71 catches for 839 yards, 10 touchdowns. This year, he had 53 catches, 460 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And he's someone who I think people are forgetting what Colorado's losing, right, on their roster, right? They're going to be losing a lot of talent at a lot of different places. It's sort of the model. It's like a lot of guys in, a lot of guys out. But they're losing wide receiver talent, more specifically Travis Hunter. They're losing LeJohntay Wester. They're losing Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn, right? All those guys are seniors, or at least 3 out of the 4 are, with Travis Hunter being the only one. That being said, the leading receiver on the team who's not named Travis Hunter, LeJohntay Wester, Will Shepard, or Jimmy Horn is Draylon Miller, who will be a junior next year, or a redshirt sophomore, and he had 31 catches this year. And then last year, I think he had like 4, or not Draylon Miller, the freshman, not Omarion Miller, the freshman, Draylon Miller. So a true freshman will be their leading receiver, because Omarion Miller, who I was referring to the first time when I misspoke, has 21 career catches. So right now, Colorado's leading receiver next season, has 31 career catches. So Colorado's going to go into the portal. They're going to bring in weapons. Yes, they have guys like Baby T.O. Yes, they have guys like Cameron McKell. Yes, they have guys like Terrell Timmons, Isaiah Harge, but they're going to want experience. And Kevin Concepcion is Concepcion. I think it's Concepcion. KC, as I'm going to call him until I could make sure I'm not butchering his name inconsistently. He's someone who does a little bit of everything, right? He's someone who is going to provide a sure-handed target for whoever's at quarterback. And we'll talk about that a little bit later and why I say for whoever's at quarterback. And he's someone that wants to be the focal point of an offense. And I think this Colorado offense will be up for grabs in terms of who's the main guy, because there's no longer Travis, right? Travis is off to the NFL. And even though Travis doesn't lead the team, or didn't lead the team in catches or whatever, right? He leads the team in who was the focal point of the offense, which isn't really a stat in the sense of like how most people think. Like most people think, oh, their best receiver leads the team in catches. No, Travis Hunter, which he actually did lead the team in catches this year. Not last year, he didn't. He had 92 catches for 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. That's a lot of production to replace. In total, they're replacing 92, 70, 47, 33, and 24, 30, 31, 31 touchdowns and probably over 200 or 2,000, almost 3,000 receiving yards. And so they need someone who could step in, make sure there's no drop off, and make sure whoever's playing quarterback is confident with who they're throwing to. Next target that I've seen for the Colorado Buffaloes, or at least what's been reported, Micah Hudson, Texas Tech wide receiver, former 5-star recruit. He was a consensus 5-star that simply, I don't know what it was, did not see the field very much in Lubbock, right? I think he had, let me pull up his stats. I think he had around 10 catches and just was not a focal point of the offense. Now, obviously, they had Josh Kelly, who was a big guy. They had Jalen Conyers, who was a big transfer. He had 8 catches for 123 yards, but he's 6 foot, 195, super fast, and I think he really just needs an opportunity. And so I think Colorado should take a shot on him. Jonte Cook is another former 5-star who he's interesting. Texas wide receiver transfer. I think he's got a little bit of off-the-field distraction vibes. I don't know if you guys have seen his social media of late, but he's someone who I think if I was giving him advice, it would probably be, hey, we don't need to tweet at every single person that tweets at you, or, hey, we don't need to comment on every single social media thing. That'd be my advice to him. He's someone that Colorado was linked to at one point. We'll see if they pursue him because I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think where he needs to improve is maturity-wise. And then lastly, this all offense today, at least from the portal targets I've seen, they're going after Northwest Missouri State tight end Zach Atkins, and he's the number 2 tight end in the portal. He's someone that a lot of people view as having a ton of potential because he's someone who kind of flew under the radar and is probably going to be one of the hottest commodities in the portal. He's 6'3", 240, 24/7 wrote a nice write-up about him. He had 18 FBS offers on November 27th. So I think those offers are going to continue to roll in. And he's now listed at 6'5", 245, at least in that story. So he's a dynamic weapon, big size, and I think Colorado needs a tight end that's actually a weapon, right? They've missed out on the tight end position the last 2 years, right? They landed Shedeur Sanders, he left the program. They landed Shimon Mateer, he left the program. And so then they were left with Savell Smalls this year. They were left with Michael Harrison last year. They need a tight end who can sort of block and also be a passing threat. And I don't think they've had that just yet. So Coach Prime, Colorado, putting in work in the transfer portal to revamp this receiver pass catching group. And I'm sure they aren't done just yet. I'm sure they're going to be targeting defensive line, offensive line, linebackers, quarterbacks, everything between the stars and the moon. They're going to be targeting them. And I'll make sure to have you covered. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the latest honors for Robert Livingston. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Let me tell you about Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets easier to see your favorite teams play, your favorite performers play, whatever it is. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching throughout thousands of tickets. They have all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature, and it shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout and their lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow my everydayers. You know who you are. I appreciate you. I appreciate the support that you guys give me, and we're going to continue to have some fun as this journey goes along. Robert Livingston. I was saying he was one of the best hires in college football, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, Kevin's just saying that because he's covering Colorado. He wants Colorado people to be happy, and they were completely ignoring the turnaround that this Colorado defense had, right? Last year, they were ranked as one of the worst defenses in college football. This year, they ranked 53rd in total defense, and that's not even the best part, right? They had a lockdown second half defense. They ranked 37th in the country in scoring defense, allowing just 22 points per game. And then in terms of turnovers, they went from a defense that last year was like, okay, at the beginning of the year, they forced a few turnovers here or there. This year, they rank number 8 in the country in turnovers gained with 24. Robert Livingston came into Boulder, Colorado, and I think this was one of my favorite anecdotes from Cameron Simon Craig this year about Robert Livingston was he came into Boulder and said, I don't have a playbook. What are you guys good at? And what you guys are good at, we're going to do. So what was Colorado good at? They were good at man coverage, right? They have Travis Hunter, they have Preston Hodge, they have DJ McKinney. So they put those corners on islands and went to work, right? It set up their defensive line and linebackers to make plays. It set up their corners to really prove just how talented they were. And it worked, right? Robert Livingston took a chance on coming to Colorado. Coach Prime took a chance on hiring him, and it worked out for all parties involved. And so Robert Livingston was announced today as a Broyles Award semifinalist, which is given to the nation's top assistant. Some other notable names that were named semifinalists were Marcus Arroyo, the Arizona State offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator at Boise State. Let's see. Al Golden, the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator from Notre Dame. Taj Lapoy, defensive coordinator from Oregon. So there's some big names in here. Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, SMU, Vanderbilt's Tim Beck was another one. Like, these are some big names out there. And Robert Livingston's in the mix, as he should, because this Colorado defense, I think at times was more consistent than the Colorado offense, right? There was moments where I trusted, especially in the second half of these games, I would trust the Colorado defense more to shut down the opponent rather than Colorado's offense to get off to a strong start or something. Because for whatever reason, the offense was just hit or miss. And the defense, outside of the 3 games they lost where they looked poor, I mean that happens though, right? The Colorado defense was just tenacious, right? They had pass rushers galore. They had guys forcing turnovers. Like this is the stat line for this Colorado defense. And I'm just going to talk about, and it's a testament to what Robert Livingston, his mind, and it's a testament to the freedom that he allowed the defense to have. Sacks wise, Colorado had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players with 3 or more sacks. 4 players with 3.5 or more sacks, right? BJ Green led the way with 7.5, Arden Walker 4.5, Keaton Wade 4. Imagine if he wasn't injured. Imagine if he was playing all year. He probably would have had 8 or 9, which he'll be a focal point of next year's defense. Amari McNeil 3.5, Samuel Kunolola 3, Taj McCoy 3. Like, these guys, they got it. Like, they were rushing the passer. Interceptions wise, Travis Hunter 4, DJ McKinney 2, Preston Hodge 2, Nikhai Hill-Green 2, Colton Hood 2. And Nikhai Hill-Green and Levante Bentley went from being 2 of the worst graded linebackers in the run game last year to 2 of the best, right? They were locking it down for Colorado in the rushing attack. And in the Big 12, I know a lot of people like to remember the Big 12 for what it used to be, where it was just like everyone's throwing the ball 50 times a game, and it's going to be 50-something to 40-something. This Colorado team and this Big 12 defenses all over the place, they had to deal with offenses who were physical, who could run the ball, and wanted to run it down your damn throats. And Robert Livingston had this defense ready each and every week, and it seemed like they never made the same mistake twice. So like in the 3 games they lost, they bounced back the following week. It was like, okay, that's the defense that we knew. And I think the defense got better as they went along. I think he's going to have a tall task next year of sort of replacing Travis Hunter when you have a corner who just locks down one side of the field. But hell of a job by Robert Livingston. I really feel like he should win this award, or at least at the very minimum be a finalist. When we come back, we're going to be talking about replacing Shedeur Sanders and why it might be trickier than people realize. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win, or if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow. My everydayers, you know who you are. You tune in every single day. You look at this mug. You listen to this voice, whether I'm sick or not, and you support me. You like, you subscribe, you comment. We have some fun in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. This show would not be possible without you. So make sure to share this with a friend so that way we could grow this everydayer community. Replacing Shedeur Sanders, not as easy as I think people realize because, one, he's the best quarterback in college football, right? He's got a great arm. He never makes mistakes or rarely makes mistakes. He's elite in the pocket with how bad this offensive line has been over the past 2 years. I think if this was any other quarterback, they probably would look like utter scrubs, whereas Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft, this upcoming draft. So Shedeur Sanders is a top pick talent, and I don't know if Colorado fans are ready to have a discussion as to how hard it's going to be to replace him. Because, one, the offense line needs to get way better. Two, the run game needs to be more useful. And three, they need weapons around him. Shedeur Sanders, I think, made everyone around him great. It reminded me of LeBron James, where if you're on the court with LeBron James, regardless of how good you are, LeBron James is going to get you open. He's going to find you with the behind the back throw over his head or bounce pass after he tracks a defense and they're doubling and your man crashes. Like, LeBron James gets you open. Shedeur Sanders put his players in position to succeed. And I don't know if Colorado's offense, how different will it be next year, but I do know that it's a lot of pressure to expect Julian Lewis, who's going to be a true freshman, who probably should be a senior in high school next year, but he reclassified. It's a lot of pressure to put on him. So I think the best way to replace Shedeur Sanders is to get a quarterback from the portal who can start, can play. Like, maybe it's a Miller Moss, right? I know Miller Moss isn't going to Colorado because he's already been linked to 4 or 5 different schools, but maybe it is a guy like Miller Moss, right? Who we've seen him play well, right? We've seen what he could do, and you just need someone to sort of give Julian Lewis time. I think Julian Lewis, the big selling point to him was playing time, so I'll be interested to see what kind of caliber quarterback Colorado brings in, because I don't love the depth behind Julian Lewis right now. I don't love the depth behind Shedeur Sanders because it's the same guys. It's Ponder, it's Staub, it's Wade, it's Taylor. None of those guys outside of Staub, and even Staub, I don't know if I trust him all that much, have proven that they should be the guy, right? Like, there's a reason they all transferred. There's a reason outside of Staub, he was here. There's a reason that all these guys are looking for an opportunity, is they've yet to prove themselves. And I don't know for Colorado if they have intentions of contending for a Big 12 title, a college football playoff, which I imagine they do. I don't know if any of those guys are the right guys to lead them there. And I know Julian Lewis has a ton of potential, and he probably could be that guy. But putting all your eggs in the basket of a 16 or 17-year-old quarterback who should be getting ready for senior prom and not going on the road to take on Utah or whoever Colorado plays next year, I think there's going to be a challenge where Colorado has to sort of realize, like, hey, we got to get some experience and proven talent in this room, so that way when Julian Lewis gets here, it's not all on him. It's not like, hey, be our savior. Hey, be Shedeur Sanders 2.0. It's, hey, when you're ready, we will call you, but we want you to get ready and we want you to feel confident. Because, I mean, look at the quarterbacks around the country, right? Arch Manning sat. DJ Lagway sat for a little bit. Who else am I missing? Trevor Lawrence didn't start right away. I feel like there's just quarterbacks all over the country where it's like they were so highly touted. Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, they were so highly touted, but it's like they didn't rush them into playing because you don't want to damage your quarterback for the future because you forced him to play. Like, look at Utah's Isaac Wilson. That kid was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Utah. He was a national Gatorade Player of the Year contender with DJ Lagway. He was an All-American type guy, but guess what? He gets thrust in the action, not expecting it because Cam Rising gets hurt for the 75th time of his career. And all of a sudden, Isaac Wilson looks like damaged goods. Isaac Wilson looks like Utah does not have the quarterback of the future on their roster right now, and that they have to go into the portal and get one because they put so much pressure on him, and it, to no fault of theirs or his, but they put pressure on the young quarterback to succeed. And in this modern era of college football, the quarterback position is you succeed right away or you leave. And Colorado, for as hard as they try to get Julian Lewis to Boulder, they don't want to lose him because it's like, okay, he's not playing well right away. He's not a superstar right away. who's next? Like, what, we can't have this. Like, there's no longer a development period in college football. And so I think the best thing for Julian Lewis is to have an experienced transfer that maybe plays in front of him for a little bit before he eventually takes over. But that's just me. You guys comment below. Should Julian Lewis take over, or should Colorado just have a bridge quarterback to make sure that the transition is as easy as possible? You guys comment below. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow my everydayers. You know who you are. The show's not possible without you. I will see you guys tomorrow.